Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining our informational webinar for ecoAmerica's second annual American Climate Leadership Awards. We'll give folks a little time to join this webinar before we start, but we're glad you're here with us today. Great, so why don't we get started? Welcome again, everyone. We hope today's webinar will provide you the information you need to apply for the American Climate Leadership Awards or nominate someone else to do so. So welcome. I'm Megan Spicer, ecoAmerica's Executive Director, and joining me today is Gibbs Raylan, the American Climate Leadership Awards Program Lead. We are going to be your guides for this webinar and for the awards overall. So today we'll try to move through the information efficiently while also giving you time to ask questions. So make sure you keep your questions close, and in fact you can actually start putting them in the chat box at any time. So after this welcome and introductions, we'll spend a few minutes reviewing the awards overall, then the criteria, then the process and timeline. And after that, as I mentioned, we will hold space for questions and answers. If it takes 15 minutes, great. If it needs to take more or less, that's fine too. And then after that, we'll cover next steps. So first, a bit on who we are as ecoAmerica. We are a nonprofit, and our sole focus is to inspire a broader diversity of Americans to act on climate. We do this by partnering with national institutions and empowering them to lead and act on climate. We conduct deep research to inform our work, then provide programs and resources to help our partners elevate their visible climate leadership and action, engage their tens of millions of members on the issue, and ultimately shift public support and political will for ambitious and equitable climate solutions. We work in three sectors. Our Blessed Tomorrow program engages faith denominations, Climate for Health, our partners in Climate for Health, our national health associations and institutions, and our Path to Positive program is for local communities. We also do a lot more to build collaboration and shift the narrative on climate, including through our national summit, our Let's Talk Climate webcast series, our ambassador training program, and so much more, including the awards we are talking about today. So go to ecoamerica.org to find out more about us and sign up for our newsletters. So let's dive into the American Climate Leadership Awards. You're here because maybe you're working to engage Americans in climate advocacy and action. Maybe you've made some important progress even during this time of compounded crises. And could your work, we want to ask this question, could your work be a model of replications for others to follow? Or do you know someone or an organization that is working in all across those three? Then we welcome your application for the 2021 American Climate Leadership Awards, of course, by ecoAmerica. These awards recognize, reward, and share best practices on climate change advocacy and action in America. We are proud to offer money, support, and national recognition to climate leaders and organizations building political resolve for climate action at the local, regional, and national levels, particularly those efforts that center diversity, inclusion, and justice in their work. So these awards were created to support effective climate action. We don't have a lot of time to affect the outcome of climate change, meaning we don't have a lot of time to waste. So we're looking for your current effective programs in which you have measurably engaged other people in America to build public support or political will for climate solutions. We want to share your effective example with others so they can hit the ground running towards success in their own communities. So we are looking for programs that can be easily replicable on a local level, adaptable to any region nationwide. And of course, there are no solutions if the solutions proposed are not just and inclusive and equitable. So we are looking for effective and innovative programs that have built this public support to slow or stop climate change in ways that are just, inclusive, equitable, and that may help to dismantle racism during our unprecedented unprecedented time of multiple crises. So why apply? What's in it for you? Well, there's a lot. There are so many of you who are working hard to address climate change and multi-solve for our other concurrent crises, all during a time when money is tight. So we hope you will be pleased to hear that the American Climate Leadership Awards will award $155,000 to 10 innovative and replicable initiatives. So 10 finalists will be selected and awarded at least $10,000 plus travel and accommodations to the American Climate Leadership Summit in 2021, which will be in Washington, D.C. on April 27th, 2021. A runner-up receiving a total of $25,000 and a winner receiving a total of $50,000 will be announced live during that award ceremony at the gala on the 27th. So 10 total winners. One of those 10 is a runner-up, receiving a total of $25,000. One of them is a winner, receiving a total of $50,000. And as I said, announced live during the ceremony, and of course, expected to make an acceptance speech. We held this year's awards online this year because of COVID, and it was really exciting. And I really can't wait to hopefully be in person next year to see the excitement of announcing the winner and runner-up, and of course, honoring all of the finalists. And of course, hearing the acceptance speeches. Honestly, this year they were so fantastic. They made me cry. It was very inspiring. So now that we hope to have piqued your interest in the awards, I'm going to now turn it over to Gibbs Raylan, who's going to go through the criteria, process, and timeline. Over to you, Gibbs.
Great, thank you so much, Megan. It's so exciting to kick off another awards cycle. I will start off overviewing the awards criteria. This year, like last year, we have a great selection committee, and they will score the submissions based on the following 3 criteria. Number 1, impact and a track record of success. The committee will be on the lookout for key success metrics. Note that we are looking for results here, not plans. Number 2, the committee will also be looking for replicability. In other words, how easily another person or organization could follow your example and recreate a similar program for another region or constituency. Please make sure in this section to share your effective tactics. Number 3, diversity, equity, and inclusion. In your submissions, explain how your program has centered justice. We want to make sure rural communities and others are not left out of the climate conversation. The committee will also consider 2 secondary criteria, including innovation. This includes new, novel, or uniquely effective tactics in your programming, and effectiveness, demonstrating the success of how your program built public support and/or political will to slow and/or stop climate change. Now is the opportunity to get climate on the agenda, find people who will do it, and make sure the journalists, the leaders, and candidates out there are talking about climate as an election issue. Now, a bit more on this year's selection committee. The selection committee for ACLA 21 is comprised of 9 climate experts and leaders from across a diversity of sectors and constituencies. We are super excited to have former EPA Administrator and current NRDC President and CEO, Gina McCarthy, once again chairing the committee. If you know Gina or participated in last year's awards, you can understand how thrilled we are to have her back on board. Climate hero Gus Speth joins us again. As many of you probably know, Gus has kicked off so many of these important climate initiatives. We are also honored to have APHA President Dr. Georges Benjamin, 35th Mayor of Salt Lake City, Jackie Biskupski, and Executive Director of TOE Nitshoni Ani, Nicole Horseherder, back on board to judge the submissions. We would also like to welcome new judges, attorney and former Native advisor to Bernie Sanders, Tara Hauska, Executive Director of USCAN, Kea Chatterjee, Harvard School of Public Health and Environment Professor Mark Weiskopf, and Green Muslims climate change advocate Sophia Gilani. You can read more about these wonderful leaders on our website website at ecoAmerica.org. So how should you go about applying? I'm going to walk you through this year's application form. This is once again, a simple Google Doc. And as a reminder, this submission should be submitted by 5 p.m. Eastern on December 15th. And the form only has 12 questions. You'll start off by being asked to provide some basics to begin with. This includes your name, your title, and your email address, as well as your organization's name and URL. You will then be asked to describe in 1,500 characters or less your program's objectives and how you brought the program's objectives to life. Please include any primary tactics. Impact is important as you demonstrate your program's success. Please share any metrics or key performance indicators in this section of the application. As we know, climate change brings numerous co-benefits in health, nature, prosperity, and more. Please identify any co-benefits your program is having in the communities where you work in 1,500 characters or less. These awards really seek to highlight diversity, equity, and inclusion. And specifically, we want to learn how your program activities have manifested DEI to help those most vulnerable. On this section, there's an 800 character limit. And finally, what are others saying? We are asking you to provide media and reporting examples. How has your program been recognized by others? Please share no more than 3 links to media impressions or other third-party reporting on your program. We're sure there's lots of wonderful information and media hits out there in your organization, but we need to limit the amount of material that the judges will be reading through. Remember that we're looking for concise responses. This will be extremely beneficial when we write about your programs and as we seek to motivate others to replicate your activities. If selected as one of the 30 semifinalists, you'll be asked to submit a final proposal by February 8th, 2021. From there, 10 finalists will be selected and invited to Washington, D.C. in April of next year. Now I will overview this year's awards timeline. The submission form is live. Please, we welcome you. Please apply today. You have until December 15th at 5 p.m. to apply. On October 19th, next month, we will hold a second informational webinar. We welcome your colleagues and friends. You'll be hearing more about that online and via our social media channels. On November 2nd, the nomination period closes. You can nominate friends, colleagues, programs, and others from now until that time. We need to close this form a little bit earlier to ensure adequate time to then send the applications to those nominees and for them to then respond to the nomination, hence the earlier deadline. And as I have said a couple of times, mid-December, we're looking for your applications. A month later, on January 15th, 2021, 30 semifinalists will be announced on ecoAmerica.org and via social media channels. The semifinalists will have 3 weeks to submit a final proposal. Note that you will need to submit supporting collateral if you're chosen as a semifinalist. On February 8th, final proposals are due from semifinalists, and 3 weeks later, on March 15th, 10 finalists will be announced and invited to DC to the American Climate Leadership Summit. During the summit, as Megan mentioned, on April 27th, the runner-up and winner will be announced live in DC as well as online. And now for a Q&A portion of the program. I know we covered a lot of material here and quite quickly, and we're sure you have a lot of questions, and we would love to hear from you. So please chat us. You want to make sure to select all panelists in the chat function at the bottom of your screen when sending your chats so we can read them and answer them for you. So I'm going to jump right in here. There's a question. Let's see, I'm going to read this out. Do you have to have a nomination or do you self-nominate? Does it matter if it is a self-nomination or a nomination? Thanks, Lori. Great question. Absolutely, you can self-nominate. It doesn't matter if it's a self-nomination, although if it is a self-nomination, I would recommend that you move directly to the application. But we wouldn't, the selection committee would be fine with a self-nomination. And we would love as many nominations as you care to put out.
Absolutely. We really believe in the nomination process to help extend this opportunity to others who might not have seen the communications. We particularly want to be sure that the folks who need this kind of, that are doing the great work and need the kind of financial support that comes along with the awards, get access to be able to apply. And often, you know, we have quite a large network, but certainly there are folks we don't know as well. So we encourage you to share this broadly for nominations.
Absolutely, and we do want to know we're very grateful to our partners. There's been a lot of work, by and large, by our partners to really get out and share this opportunity. So quick shout out to some of our partners that are on the line. Teresa has a question. How can one get this webinar to review? We will be posting this webinar, if not later today, tomorrow on our website. So you can go to ecoAmerica.org and find it and refer back to it. Also, if you need a PDF version of the application to view, I had that question last week or the week before. I'm happy to send that to you via email. So feel free to send us an email to get the application to review and have a hard copy. There's a question here about requirements for the organizational status of the initiative. Megan, do you want to take that 501c3 or 501c4?
That's a really good question, Harleen. We haven't had that question before, and so we will need to get back to you on that. Our thinking was mostly 501c3 initiatives, but I would have to discuss with the governance committee whether it's acceptable to also have 501c4. And in fact, you can also be an individual. So that's important too. So you don't have to be an organization. You can be an individual person who's doing great work, engaging others as well. But we'll have to get back to you on the C4 category.
And we can also add that, yes, absolutely, that is a great question. We will add that to our FAQ, which you can also find on our website. And I've put the spelling of our website in the chat function. So if you go there, we'll make sure we address that in 24 hours. Another question here about, do you have to have a URL? We are a subsection of a larger organization that does do other climate actions. No, you do not have to have you would want a URL that's connected to your program activity. And we would welcome other references on the program, but you can be part of an umbrella organization and submit that URL. That is absolutely fine and has been done before.
And particularly if there's a page on that website that features your work, even better, give us that page, but you don't have to have a unique URL for your initiative.
We had a question earlier today about whether some of our programmatic partners can apply for the awards, and absolutely, we welcome your submissions. As I mentioned earlier, there's an external panel of judges to make the decisions about the winners, and so making sure that the conflict of interest is not an issue. There's a question here regarding, as an individual, how does one get an URL? So great question, Teresa. I would, if there is a LinkedIn page or some other reference as an individual, or if you have your own website or perhaps a media impression, I would submit that as your URL. Absolutely.
It's a great question, Teresa. It could also be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, social media accounts.
Thanks, Harleen. Question about the best point of contact email address for follow-up. You are on top of it. We are going to, after the Q&A portion, we are going to talk about that, but I will also put down an email contact, which you can send. There are a few of us that on staff that are helping to manage the program, but I'll be your best point of contact. And this is a group address that I'm going to now provide everyone with. So that's your best bet. ACLA, American Climate Leadership Awards, ACLA at ecoamerica.org. And any questions, we welcome any and all of them, because we know that we want to make sure you are putting your best foot forward, and that it's an easy, streamlined process as you apply. Well, if there aren't any more questions on chat, again, we'd be happy to receive any emails with follow-up questions that way. And if not, I suggest we keep going to save everyone some time here. Great. Those are some really great questions, and some of them we will consider putting into our FAQ online. I wanted to do a final reminder on some key dates. As I mentioned, you have until November 2nd to nominate a colleague, organization, program, friend, leader. And the application deadline is on December 15th. And again, you can visit ecoAmerica's website for more information, including those key dates, the criteria, and more. And we will have this webinar recording up in the next 24 to 48 hours. So thank you. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this webinar. And again, thank you to all of our partners who've been promoting this opportunity. Last year, I think we received over 200 applicants, and we really hope to grow that number substantially this year. This really is a period, as we all know, when we need more joy and we need more celebration. So we hope that you apply with your wonderful programs today. Let's see, and we have one last question before we jump off. Getting feedback about last year's application so they know how to improve their application for this year. And that, given the volume of applications we had last year, over 200, we can't ask that of the committee at this time. What I would recommend to that individual organization is to go to our website, review the criteria, and if there are specific questions about the criteria, please send us an email to acla@ecoamerica.org, and we will plan to address that with you. But unfortunately, just due to the high volume of submissions and the volunteer capacity of the committee, we unfortunately won't be able to provide feedback on individual applications. So again, thank you so much. We look forward to reading about your work soon, and best of luck from all of us at ecoAmerica and in this year's selection committee. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone. We look forward to seeing your applications.
Bye-bye.